Jacob and Michelle had been married for 12 years, and Jacob gave my heart and soul to her, helping Finn with her illness, and poured money into her startup. Who would have thought she got involved with Tiffany and even fabricated a pregnancy report, insisting on having his child? On Jacob's birthday, she went shopping with her secretary at the park. Back home, she complained the steak and cake Jacob prepared tasted bad, tossed a stray dog at me, saying, "Let's raise it as our child," then immediately bought her secretary a limited edition sports car. Even more infuriating, she stole my mother's emerald wristwatch and gave it to her secretary, David. When they divorced, she forced me to leave with nothing. Jacob immediately recalled all my investments and exposed her scandals. Later, she and her secretary turned against each other due to their schemes. The secretary, after contracting HPV, tried to kill her. She, while drunk, bludgeoned him to death with a bottle and ended up in prison herself. Her mother's kidney disease relapsed, and she locked her in the basement, yelling, "You should have died long ago." Her reputation utterly ruined. She became a prisoner. Everyone in our circle knew I was madly in love with Victoria Stone. For years, Jacob silently sacrificed everything for her. When her mother fell ill, Jacob secretly arranged for top specialists in the country to treat her. When she founded her company, Jacob even spared no expense, pouring enormous sums into paving her way. Whenever Jacob found something good, Jacob always presented it to her without hesitation. After 12 years of marriage, Jacob always believed his love would eventually win her over. Unexpectedly, Knox, unbeknownst to Jacob, got involved with her Tiffany. Watching Tiffany send Knox ultrasound results, and countless disturbing photos of them together, my heart turned to ashes. Jacob didn't make a scene. Instead, he calmly summoned all the shareholders, Mr. Richard. Jacob wanted her to understand that without Jacob, she would have nothing. On his birthday, Jacob ordered a top-grade steak, bought his favorite matcha mousse cake, and sat in the slightly empty living room, savoring it alone. After Knox settled the dirty stray dog, she walked into the living room with a serious expression. "Why didn't you make dinner? Jacob doesn't eat beef, or touch matcha-flavored desserts. What do you expect Jacob to eat for dinner?" Jacob didn't even look up at her and said indifferently, "There are instant noodles in the cupboard, just add hot water and it's ready to eat." Knox, hearing this, was furious. Staring sternly at Jacob, Jacob specifically rushed back from out of town. "To celebrate your birthday, is this how you treat Jacob? So what if work delayed me? I already got your gift. What else are you so upset about? Did you really rush back for my birthday?" Jacob mercilessly exposed her, looking straight into her eyes. Jacob's lips curved slightly. Jacob saw the photos. In the afternoon, you and Dakota were strolling leisurely in the park. While Jacob was eagerly preparing a birthday surprise, she and Tiffany were enjoying a leisurely afternoon under the warm sun, like a pair of lovers. If it weren't for the fact that she had already entered into marriage with Jacob, such a scene could be considered harmonious and beautiful. And the birthday gift she gave Jacob was a dirty stray dog she had casually rescued during her walk with Dakota that afternoon. Knox's face instantly stiffened, then she frowned. Yes, Jacob came back this morning. Brandon was in a bad mood this afternoon, so Jacob accompanied him to the park to clear his head. As a superior, shouldn't Jacob care about a subordinate's mood? She sat down beside Jacob, her tone still cold. Without a hint of guilt, Indigo, Jacob knows what you're bothered by. Don't take your desire for a child out on Brandon. Jacob told you before that Jacob just started my business, and work would take up a lot of my energy. Jacob couldn't possibly have children. You're already 35 years old. Do you think you're still young enough to have a healthy child? Although Jacob was already 35, he married her in his 20s. In those long 12 years, Jacob countless times longed for a child, but she always rejected this request, citing her lack of career success. Jacob always firmly supported and respected her, silently being her solid backing. She had strong self-esteem. To help her succeed in the business world, Jacob secretly used his family's resources to fully support her. By her side, all the way, Jacob gave his all, and stayed with her until now. Now she had become a prominent figure in the business world, successful and renowned, yet she disdained Jacob for being too old to have a child with her. Noticing Jacob's emotional shift, Knox walked over and gently embraced Jacob, her voice full of cajoling tenderness. "Darling, Jacob really doesn't have time. You don't have that much energy to take care of a child yourself. Jacob is thinking of you." As she spoke, she pointed to the dog not far away. "Though this dog isn't perfect, all living things have spirits. Let's raise it as our child, okay?" Jacob felt a wave of nausea from the faint scent of men's cologne on her. Jacob expressionlessly pulled his hand away from hers and said coldly, "Since all living things have spirits, why didn't you give this dog to Dakota?" What? It's not as good as the limited edition sports car you just gave him this afternoon. You give him an exorbitantly priced sports car, and Jacob only deserves a stray dog. Her face instantly changed, and she demanded loudly, was this caught on the news too? Indigo, are you investigating Jacob? We have no privacy or trust left between us. How can we be husband and wife anymore? Then she tried to defend herself. Jacob gave him the sports car because he's been with Jacob for years, accompanying Jacob from obscurity to success. Shouldn't Jacob thank him? Jacob gazed at her, a bitter feeling spreading through his heart, feeling as if someone had choked him and slapped him hard. Jacob couldn't help but say, Knox, he's only been your secretary for 3 years, but Jacob has been your husband for 12 years. You actually used Jacob's money to buy him an exorbitantly priced sports car as a thank you gift. After 12 years of marriage, she didn't understand that what Jacob cared about wasn't the dog or the sports car, but her attitude toward Jacob. Knox's face turned beet red with anger, and she snapped, why have you become so petty? You got too big for your britches once you made some money. You're a stay-at-home husband. If Jacob gave you a sports car, do you expect to drive it to buy groceries? She impatiently waved her hand. I can't be bothered talking to you. If you keep making a scene, this marriage is over. At that moment, her cell phone rang. All anger vanished from her face instantly. She answered the call, her tone gentle. Brandon, what's wrong? Don't worry, Jacob is home. Jacob will come to you once Jacob is done. A hesitant, fragmented voice came from Dakota on the other end of the line. Knox, Jacob had a car accident. My leg seems to be injured. Okay, wait for Jacob. Jacob is coming now. Knox's expression became anxious. Without even a single word of explanation, she rushed out the door in a panic. The next second, Jacob's cell phone received an unfamiliar text message. It was Knox's pregnancy report, 3 months along, and thoughtfully included a note. This is our first child. To celebrate this happy moment, Knox bought Jacob a sports car, and even gave Jacob a detached mansion. Ruby, tonight Knox belongs to Jacob. You can hug that dog and celebrate your birthday alone. Jacob's pupils instantly dilated, staring fixedly at the pregnancy report. His heart felt as if it had been fiercely pierced by a sharp blade. He collapsed weakly to the ground. Soon after, Jacob also received a message from Knox. Something came up at the company. Jacob needs to meet with a partner. Jacob 1 be home tonight. Not celebrating your birthday with you is Jacob's fault. Jacob will make it up to you with a gift at tomorrow's business event. The message ended with, Don't be angry, get some sleep. Jacob looked at the 2 text messages in his hand and smiled, a mixture of sorrow and bitterness. Jacob and Knox were college classmates. Jacob fell in love at first sight with her, but she was dismissive of Jacob. She and her mother had relied on each other for survival since childhood. Later, her mother contracted a severe brain tumor and was hospitalized long-term, urgently needing money for treatment. Jacob felt for her. He paid all the fees for her and contacted a leading neurosurgeon in the country to treat her mother. The surgery was successful. To protect her self-esteem, Jacob only said it was donated funds. She was down on her luck at the time, yet stubbornly questioned Jacob, Indigo, what exactly are you doing this for? Jacob eagerly offered his sincere heart, Jacob likes you. She was silent for a moment. Her brow furrowed. You want to be Jacob's boyfriend, but Jacob's career has just begun. We can only date secretly. Won't you be sad? Indigo, you're a good person, but Jacob really can't give you anything. The young man's love was pure and fervent, unafraid of any hardship or obstacle. As long as Jacob can be with you, Jacob is willing to endure any hardship. Knox, Jacob will help you achieve your dreams, and wait for you to slowly fall for Jacob. Could you please give Jacob a chance? The setting sun was a soft red that day. The young girl stood on tiptoe and lightly kissed the young man's cheek. Okay. That's how Jacob's relationship began. To help her open the door to the business world, Jacob secretly used my family's resources to pave her way. At a young age, she shot to fame, becoming a rising star in the business world with a successful business investment. In the beginning, even though our relationship wasn't deep, she still showed me respect, understanding, and care. During her days of striving in her career, Jacob always stayed by her side. To help her with business engagements, Jacob repeatedly took drinks for her, vomiting uncontrollably on the street in the middle of the night. Once, he even had a stomach hemorrhage and was directly sent to the hospital. At that time, she held Jacob's hand and said with concern, Indigo, let's get married. Jacob will surely achieve great success. Even if Jacob can't fall in love with you, Jacob will never hurt you. Now, 12 years later, they spent more time apart than together. Now meeting again, she only felt annoyance towards Jacob. Countless cruel words, piercing me like daggers. Knox's ultrasound report was the sharpest blade, piercing my tattered heart, that loved her so deeply. Jacob smiled with tears in his eyes and nudged her back. Knox, let's get a divorce. The next morning, Knox still hadn't replied to Jacob's message. Jacob wondered if she couldn't even be bothered to read his messages. Meanwhile, Dakota's social media feed was updated again. His hair was meticulously styled, revealing his long neck. He was dressed in a pure black custom-tailored suit, and the emerald wristwatch on his wrist glowed with a cold light in the sunlight. Jacob couldn't be more familiar with that watch. It was the only relic Jacob's mother left him, an irreplaceable treasure in Jacob's heart. Jacob's heart sank suddenly. He quickly opened the safe and found that the emerald wristwatch had vanished without a trace. A chill instantly spread through Jacob's entire body because Jacob knew that, besides himself, only Knox knew the safe's password. Jacob clutched his car keys tightly and sped towards the business gala venue tonight. Upon arrival, Knox was engaging in lively conversation with a group of business magnates. She didn't even notice Jacob's arrival. Dakota, however, spotted Jacob instantly. He walked over, deliberately swinging the watch in front of Jacob. "Oh, Indigo, you came dressed like that. It's quite a downgrade, isn't it?" His words were full of disdain. "You only by luck became her husband, because you met Knox a few years earlier than Jacob. But now, you're just an old man eroded by time. How do you still have the face to show up at such a high-end event? You should leave quickly, lest you become a laughingstock." Jacob was seething with rage. Seeing him treating Jacob's mother's relic so flippantly, an uncontrollable surge of anger welled up in his heart. He raised his hand and delivered a heavy slap to his face. "Give Jacob's watch back to Jacob." "Oi!" Dakota screamed. Clutching his face, he feigned stumbling and falling. Knox quickly pushed through the crowd. Seeing the injured Dakota, she immediately rushed over, shielding him tightly behind her and staring at Jacob with icy eyes. "Indigo, are you insane? Who allowed you to touch him?" she sternly demanded. Jacob looked at her and said coldly, "He provoked Jacob. He brought this upon himself." "Knox, the watch Jacob's mother left for Jacob. How is it on his wrist?" Dakota feigned innocence. "It's all Jacob's fault. I couldn't find a suitable accessory to match this suit. I heard Indigo had an emerald wristwatch, and Knox said it would suit Jacob well, so she took the liberty of getting it for me to wear." Jacob stared at Knox in disbelief, his heart aching almost to the point of suffocation. "You actually used Jacob's mother's relic to curry favor with him?" Even though Jacob had learned she was cheating last night, and even had an affair with another man, Jacob never expected her to treat him this way. Grandma once warned Jacob not to easily reveal his family background. But Jacob had been honest with her that Jacob's mother sacrificed herself to protect Jacob, and this watch was the only memento she left Jacob. How could she so easily give away the only relic Jacob's mother left him? Knox protectively stood in front of Dakota and said furiously, "Is this watch very precious? Once it enters Jacob's family's door, it becomes Jacob's property. Jacob can give it to anyone Jacob wants. Does Jacob need your permission? Indigo, everything you eat, wear, and use, which of it wasn't given by Jacob? Do you still have the nerve to question Jacob?" Before she could finish speaking, Jacob unhesitatingly raised his hand again and slapped her hard across the face. Knox didn't dodge, and took the full force of the slap. Dakota screamed and quickly shielded Knox. "Are you insane? You hit someone over a watch. She's a leader in the business world. Do you know how noble her status is? Enough. Stop embarrassing yourself here." Knox roared. She ripped off the emerald wristwatch from Dakota's wrist and hurled it fiercely at Jacob. "Here's that junk your poor mother left you. If Brandon didn't like it, Jacob wouldn't want it. Take your watch and get out of Jacob's sight immediately," she yelled. The emerald wristwatch fell with a crash, its dial shattering and jewels scattering. Looking at that broken watch, it felt as if Jacob's shattered relationship was beyond repair. Jacob finally broke down. Heartbroken and disillusioned, Jacob grabbed the glass bottle from the table and hurled it fiercely at her. "Knox, you've truly disappointed Jacob." Security guards quickly rushed forward and restrained Jacob. Knox was even more furious. "Indigo, Jacob is powerful now, and Jacob is still keeping the husband's position open for you. Don't be ungrateful." It was ridiculous. Her success today, Jacob had helped her achieve every step of the way. Jacob stared coldly at her and said, word for word, "Jacob doesn't need your pity. Let's get divorced. Jacob will make you realize what it means to have nothing." Knox paused, then sneered, "Fine. Let's divorce. But Jacob earned all the money, so you must leave with nothing." Dakota's eyes lit up, and he smiled happily. Jacob watched her take things to such an extreme. The chill and anger in Jacob's heart deepened. Ignoring the pity and ridicule of onlookers, he turned and left. After leaving, Jacob immediately called his father's secretary, Blake, recall all resources and projects the group previously invested in Knox. For the next few days, Knox didn't return. Jacob could only take the divorce agreement to meet her. Knox was silent for a moment and sneered. She only glanced cursorily at the agreement and tossed it onto the table, looking up and saying slowly, "Indigo, you actually dare to divorce Jacob? Are you threatening me? You ate Jacob's food, drank Jacob's drinks. Jacob supported you for so many years. You've achieved nothing. Who else would want you besides me? Indigo, why are you doing this to Jacob? How dare you? How could you bring yourself to do this? Are all those things you once said meaningless now?" Perhaps Jacob had been too tolerant all these years, that's why everyone thought Jacob was madly in love with Knox, including Jacob himself. After realizing the truth, Jacob was shocked to discover that Knox was just an ordinary woman after all. Jacob gazed at her face, gently tracing her brow and eyes. He calmly whispered in her ear, "Knox, Jacob once thought you still had a bit of charm. But after all these years, Jacob has long since grown tired of you." She suddenly let go of Jacob and looked somewhat flustered. Jacob disgustedly wiped the spot she had touched with a wet wipe and told her, Jacob's relationship was originally a transaction. Now Jacob is tired of it, so the transaction is over. Before Jacob could finish speaking, Knox interrupted Jacob. "HMPH, you want to talk about being even with Jacob? Because you saved Jacob's mother, Jacob agreed to be with you. Jacob tolerated you for 12 years. You actually dare to suggest divorce to Jacob." As she spoke, she reached out and pinched Jacob's face, gritting her teeth. "Threatening me? Want a divorce? Dream on." Jacob chuckled. Jacob looked at her. "Jacob wants a divorce. Knox, you're pregnant with Brandon Miller's child, already 3 months along. Jacob truly wants to know, where did you find the nerve?" As he spoke, Jacob casually slapped the pregnancy report onto her face. Knox's face instantly turned pale, a flicker of panic in her eyes. But the next second, she fiercely questioned Jacob, "Indigo, Jacob is your wife. You're so narrow-minded, investigating me. Don't you trust me at all? You're already pregnant with another man's child. How can you still spout such nonsense?" Jacob was so amused he chuckled. "Jacob has never investigated you. This is your Ella." Knox was about to say something when Dakota pushed the door open and entered. He said aggrievedly, "It's all Jacob's fault. This child shouldn't have come into the world." As he spoke, as if lacking strength, his body swayed. Knox quickly stepped forward and supported Dakota. "Indigo, don't be unreasonable. No one wants to fight you for the position of husband, but this is Jacob's child." It had all been made very clear, yet this woman was still playing dumb. Jacob turned and walked towards the door. "We're all adults. Maintain some dignity. Sign the divorce agreement as soon as possible. You wouldn't want your marital infidelity becoming public knowledge, would you, Knox?" In the divorce agreement, Jacob didn't demand excessive property. "Because compared to Knox's charity, I preferred to see her lose everything she once had." Because of the child, Dakota successfully gained prominence. Knox agreed to divorce Jacob. Dakota also came on the day Jacob divorced her. He held Knox's hand tightly, afraid Jacob would lure her away. When they got the divorce certificate, Dakota visibly relaxed. While Knox was absent, he directly came up to provoke Jacob. "You worthless loser. You should count your blessings for having Victoria for so many years. But Jacob truly pities you. After so many years of marriage, you never even had a child of your own. Indigo, remember this. In your pathetic state, Abigail. If you can't make it later, don't come disturbing Jacob's life. Otherwise, I have 1,000 ways to ruin your life." Jacob directly reached out and grabbed his hair. He screamed in pain. Leaning close to his ear, Jacob said with a smile, "Dakota, do you remember Alex?" He froze completely, his face a picture of panic. Jacob looked at his expression with satisfaction, tidying his messy hair for him, and continued, "Jacob should also thank you. Otherwise, Jacob's divorce wouldn't have been so easy. Jacob isn't as vicious as you. Jacob certainly won't spread rumors that would kill you. After all, Jacob just wanted to wish you were dead." Jacob and Knox announced their divorce on social media that day. Victoria Stone's divorce and close ties to Secretary Pound still hit the headlines, but she didn't care at all. She was a hot rising star in business. This scandal was quinned to her. The capital backing her would help clear her name over time. Everyone would come to love her again. Behind her back, Jacob had his father open an investment company and only signed her as a client. Through Jacob's marketing and operations, many projects allowed her to participate, all out of deference to Skylar. This was an exchange of interests. But Jacob never revealed a word to maintain her dignity. Knox always thought that renowned enterprises would take notice of her, a newcomer, and appreciate her abilities because she had real capability. Although Jacob stooped to conquer, Jacob wasn't entirely without a plan. Jacob had told her before that purchasing cars and houses could be tax deductible, and insurance expenses could be reimbursed, which could save a large sum of money. So almost all of Knox's assets were purchased in the company's name. And the company belonged to Jacob. After the divorce, Jacob's father, to train Jacob, completely handed the investment company over to Jacob. Jacob composed himself and directly immersed himself in work. The company was always operating at a loss. After all, such a large company was established solely to support Knox. Inside the conference room, Jacob was presenting his project plan to the board members when the door was kicked open. Dakota rushed in with a group of people. Indigo. How are you such a persistent nuisance? Mr. Christopher, fire him quickly. Get him out. Secretary Dakota, pointing at Jacob, was like driving away an insignificant intruder. Everyone in the conference room was stunned by his actions. After all, he was just Knox's personal assistant, and didn't even have the authorization to enter this floor, yet he dared to intrude so brazenly, and clamor for Jacob's dismissal. Reed frowned. Sir, do you know what you are saying? Assistant. Dakota pointed even more arrogantly at Jacob's nose. This person is Knox's ex-husband. He definitely has ill intentions coming to Jacob's company. Although Jacob is just a personal assistant, Jacob is Mr. Thomas' future husband. Jacob has the right to request the dismissal of this Harper, and even make him unable to establish himself in the industry. Otherwise, at your own risk. Dakota's face was beaming with a smug smile. Evrion's gaze was fixed on Jacob. Seeing that no one paid him any mind, he continued to spout nonsense. The entire company makes money through Knox. Jacob's word is law. Quickly fire him for Jacob. The board members exchanged glances, their displeasure evident on their faces. However, they all knew this company was indeed established for Knox, so they didn't dare to easily express their opinions. Oh. Through Knox. Jacob's tone was calm, leaning back casually in his chair. Reed, call Knox in. Knox walked into the office. When she saw Jacob, a flicker of astonishment flashed in her eyes. Indigo, Jacob and I are already divorced. What are you doing at Jacob's company? She yelled furiously. Jacob calmly looked at her. Jacob is just working. Calling you here is just to inform you that the company will cancel and dismiss Mr. Thomas if you have no objection. Please sign. Knox was stunned, then roared, the company has no right to unilaterally terminate the contract. Dakota threw a tantrum even more. Are you leaders all insane? Are you going to listen to this newcomer Harper? The board members all looked at them as if they were idiots. Jacob chuckled lightly. The company indeed has no right to unilaterally terminate the contract. But Knox, you breached the contract first. Dakota raised an eyebrow. Isn't it just because Knox abandoned you and got together with Jacob? Kai. Jacob chuckled, pulled out a thick folder, and threw it directly onto the conference table. Victoria Stone certainly had a lot of love affairs. For years, she had constant rumors. The company spent countless sums and bought off scandals and suppressed trending topics. Knox, you don't think that just because things were suppressed, they didn't happen, do you? Jacob said calmly. She was about to get angry, but suddenly froze, as if realizing something. Indigo, who exactly are you? She stared at Jacob with wide eyes. Jacob. Jacob walked over and looked straight into her eyes. Jacob is your Jacob. Indigo. Jacob is the only one making money in this company. Terminate the contract. You won't regret it. Knox said through clenched teeth. Jacob just smiled without speaking and pushed the termination agreement forward. Seeing Jacob unmoved, she picked up the pen defiantly and signed it. The moment she signed, all assets purchased in the company's name were swiftly auctioned off. It was too tainted. It would be more satisfying to convert these assets into clean money. Jacob saw Knox again, in front of the newly acquired mansion. She was standing with Dakota and a gray-haired woman. That woman was Luna. You lowlife. Why are you only coming back now? Which woman were you out messing around with? Sam demanded Jacob sharply. Jacob casually tossed his jacket to the butler, stepped forward, and looked at the three people in front of him. What? Bringing your daughter and the mistress to come to demand an explanation from Jacob. At his words, Sam's face instantly turned extremely ugly. She quickly retorted, you're already divorced. Besides, isn't it because you're worthless? You're already divorced. Indigo. There's no need to be so hostile. Return all the cars and houses Jacob's daughter earned. Sam continued. Jacob's expression was indifferent. Jacob saved your life. Sam was about to lash out. Hearing this, her face instantly turned ashen, feeling as terrible as if she'd swallowed a fly. Dakota angrily said, "Indigo, don't keep bringing that up every day. Knox also married you. You're long since even. Since Jacob and I are even, why are you still here?" Sam continued to probe Jacob. "Indigo, Jacob knows you were kind to Jacob's family. Knox's infidelity was wrong, but are you entirely blameless? After so many years of marriage, not only have you achieved nothing, you couldn't even give Knox a child. By directly taking back all the cars and houses like this, where will Jacob and Knox live?" Jacob shook his head and smiled, pointing at Knox, who was holding her swollen belly. "What do you mean, no place to live? Doesn't your daughter still have a property that hasn't been auctioned off? It's said to be a luxury home worth $30 million. Oh, and a $3 million car." Sam followed Jacob's gaze and looked at Dakota. She grabbed Dakota's hair and yelled at Knox, "I truly gave birth to you, you ungrateful wretch, for nothing. The house she bought for Jacob was only $5 million, but for this mistress, she spent $30 million. Oi. Auntie, Knox is carrying your my precious grandchild." Hearing this, Sam finally calmed down. "Let us stick to the facts. Those cars and houses are Jacob's daughter's hard-earned money. Why do you get to auction them off?" Jacob chuckled. "Then let us stick to the facts. Knox breached the contract due to personal conduct, with a penalty of $300 million. When will you pay? If you can't pay, then get out." Knox stood aside like a coward. Finally, she couldn't help but speak. "How dare you speak to Jacob's mother like that? She's still your elder, after all." Jacob replied nonchalantly, "Jacob saved her life. All these years, Jacob was indeed too good to your mother, making her forget her gratitude towards Jacob, thinking Jacob could take advantage of me. Using Jacob's company's money to buy mansions and cars for your mother and your mistress. Even the money you spent to rent a room came from the company's account. Even if Jacob raised a dog, it would bow and wag its tail when it saw Jacob. Jacob sincerely treated you as family, yet you treat me like a fool." Jacob didn't listen to them clamoring all at once, and casually waved for security just as they were being escorted out. Knox defiantly yelled at Jacob, "Indigo, Jacob is a leader in the business world. Even without your company, countless businesses will still be eager to have Jacob. Jacob can still make a comeback. You'll regret this." 1 month later. Business Blake. At the gala, bustling with activity and glittering with stars. When Knox walked the red carpet, she actually openly held Brandon Miller's hand, announcing their relationship to the media. Today, Dakota, dressed in a custom-tailored suit, looked especially full of vigor and pride. He saw Jacob approaching and sat down beside Jacob. "Have you heard? Knox is a strong contender for this year's Business Leader Award. If nothing goes wrong, this year's honor will once again belong to her. At that time, her commercial value and influence will reach new heights, and countless capital will scramble to pursue her." "Oh." Jacob's expression was calm and unfazed. His eyes were full of disdain. He covered his mouth and laughed aloud. "Stop pretending, Stephanie. Forget about it. Jacob and Knox are already secretly married, and will announce it on social media soon. You're completely out of chances." Jacob ignored him and stood up to leave, because Jacob was afraid that if he stayed for another second, he wouldn't be able to help but laugh aloud. It was originally planned to make Knox irrefutable evidence of her marital infidelity and business fraud public before the gala. Unexpectedly, the parties involved were so impatient. Sitting next to the VIP seats at the gala, numerous investors, producers, and familiar business partners all came to greet Jacob. At the same time, many industry newcomers, introduced by intermediaries, came to offer their business cards, eager to establish connections with Jacob. The gala was about to begin. Knox walked into the center of the venue, attempting to hold Dakota's hand and take their seats together. At that moment, all eyes converged on Jacob. Jacob smiled and spoke, his tone calm and composed. "Jacob and I divorced 3 months ago. She no longer has any connection with Jacob Schuyler." As soon as he finished speaking, the entire hall erupted in an uproar. Soon, a few sharp-witted individuals in the front row quickly grasped Jacob's underlying meaning. The gala organizers quickly stepped forward and said to Knox, "Excuse me, this seat is already taken. Your seat is over there." Looking at the seat in that secluded corner, Knox roared, "Jacob is a leader in the business world. You're making Jacob sit there." The staff member's tone was firm. "Please adhere to the gala's arrangements." At that moment, Knox's figure seemed frozen in time, her face filled with disbelief and shock. Ultimately, she could only reluctantly take her seat in the corner. Until the gala concluded, her name was never mentioned on the host's list. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself, then found the gala organizers backstage. Didn't we agree before? This year's Business Leader award should have belonged to Jacob. Why the sudden change of plans? Before she could finish speaking, she was interrupted by the other party. You've been in the business world for over a decade. How can you still be so naive? You don't actually think that just because you won a few awards, you've become a true business leader, do you? If it weren't for Mr. Robert, who would invite an incompetent person like you to be a project manager? Mr. James' son. She had naturally heard of Isabella, the country's leading business empire. The other person mocked, of course. It's your ex-husband. You're truly foolish, Sam, absolutely idiotic. In an instant, Knox, the flicker of determination and confidence in her eyes completely extinguished. Her face was pale. She mumbled to herself, how is that possible? Meanwhile, social media had already erupted, accompanied by Knox and Dakota's marriage announcement. Reed, following the rhythm, released the scandals they had previously bought off, one after another. Public outcry, and her reputation plummeted. Knox returned home, as if drained of all strength, collapsing weakly onto the sofa. Dakota was burning with anxiety but helpless. In the eye of the storm, no economic team was willing to take on a business star plagued by negative publicity. Finally, Knox mustered her courage and called Jacob. From the other end of the line, her voice held a hint of plea. Indigo, Jacob, I beg you, can you please let me go? For the sake of Jacob's past relationship, at least give Jacob some time. Jacob truly can't afford that enormous penalty. The reason she had to humble herself so much was because with the exposure of the scandal, major partners demanded contract termination. Her capital chain had completely broken, leaving only the luxury home and cars purchased for Dakota, and these assets had become difficult to monetize under public pressure. Jacob's voice held a subtle hint of mockery. Oh, big business star, didn't you always say you could make a comeback? Get your facts straight. You and Dakota exposed your own engagement news, and the timeline was dug up by online users. Jacob didn't do anything at all, at most. Jacob is just an innocent victim. As for those negative stories, they were originally maintained with monthly payments. Now that you've terminated your contract with Jacob's company, Jacob naturally has no obligation to continue to clean up your mess. All Jacob can say is, fate has been unfair to you. She seemed to want to say something, but stopped, unable to find suitable words to refute. Knox, Jacob advises you to hold a press conference and apologize as soon as possible. Sell your cars and houses to compensate the advertisers, and you might still gain some sympathy and negotiate a better deal. After saying that, Jacob hung up the phone. In the following days, Jacob was swamped with work, and advertising cooperation projects for the company poured in. Under Jacob's careful management, the company's overall revenue steadily increased, gradually getting back on track. As for Knox, just as Jacob had expected, she had to sell all her assets, even in debt, and paid a penalty of $50 million. Because her image was too negative, she was completely blacklisted, with no commercial opportunities left. Jacob never claimed to be kind, so he decided to give Knox and Dakota a big gift. Jacob instructed Reed to send all the previously investigated information to Knox via email. The email's content went straight for the jugular, and was entirely about Dakota's romantic escapades. It included surveillance footage from the entrance of Room Alex at Chenghua Hotel. In the footage, Dakota and Michelle were flirting with feigned resistance, falling onto the bed without even closing the door properly. There was also the fabricated pregnancy report, proving that Knox was not pregnant at all. If there was one thing Knox hated most, it was being cuckolded and deceived. As expected, the moment she saw the email, she called Jacob. What kind of madness are you up to now? Isn't it enough that you've ruined Jacob like this, and now you want to Morgan? Knox, Jacob never slanders anyone. Jacob and I were married for so long, and Jacob tried every possible way to get you pregnant, but nothing worked. You know, there's nothing wrong with Jacob physically. Knox sneered. Are you saying Jacob has a problem? Jacob wouldn't know about that, but Jacob can confirm the fetal age is definitely wrong. If you don't believe Jacob, you can check it yourself. Actually, Jacob didn't believe Jacob. Jacob had already guessed that. But once the seed of doubt was planted, Jacob's goal was achieved. She had Dakota accompany her for a prenatal checkup. Half an hour later, she called Dr. Daniel to ask about the baby's exact age in months. Unexpectedly, the baby, who should have been 5 months old, was already almost 7 months old. 7 months, that couldn't possibly be Knox's child. In fact, Knox couldn't get pregnant at all. The one truly pregnant was Brandon Miller's other woman. She simply sent Jacob a text message. Thank you. Jacob knew Dakota's troubles were about to begin after Dakota learned that Knox could no longer make money and was deeply in debt. He completely regretted it. He originally thought he had stumbled upon a gold mine. He fiercely slapped Knox twice, then wildly punched and kicked her. Jacob really misjudged you, went to all that trouble to marry you. What rotten luck. Scum, you ruined Jacob. Knox, in turn, pulled Dakota's hair with all her might, holding him still, and punched his stomach repeatedly. They wrestled with each other. Scumbag, you lied to Jacob. Jacob wasn't pregnant at all. That's your child with another woman. How did you know? It was him, wasn't it? He told you, didn't he? He ruined Jacob. And you're still listening to his lies. He just wants to sow discord between Jacob. Knox threw her phone on the ground, and a video was playing on the screen. Jacob went to Mr. William. This is him caught in the act. Ed. Knox, Jacob truly loves you, otherwise Jacob wouldn't have used all Jacob's assets to help you pay off debts. Forgive Jacob. Jacob truly loves you. Knox lowered her head and touched Dakota's cheek with a sinister expression. Jacob loves you too. As long as you break up with that woman, Jacob can also have Jacob's child. People nearby called the police. Ambulances and police quickly arrived. However, because they had a marriage certificate, and neither party decided to press charges, Knox was released soon after. The next time their news surfaced, it was in the headlines. The former business mogul was arrested and brought to justice for murder. That day, she numbed her failed life with alcohol. Even when her mother's kidney disease relapsed, she merely locked her mother in the basement. Mom, you should have died long ago. Your daughter can't save you anymore. Go to hell. While Dakota was prostituting himself, he hooked up with a new wealthy woman, originally thinking he could escape and ascend. Unexpectedly, Elijah. He then realized his life was completely over. Dakota, while Knox was drunk, took a knife and plunged it directly into her back. Unexpectedly, Knox swung a glass bottle at him. Strike after strike, she bludgeoned Dakota to death. After this, Jacob began Jacob's own life. Jacob Ashley in business and demonstrated astonishing talent. Jacob's company had long since become an industry leader. In this process, Jacob still believed in love and met the right person for Jacob. Jacob came to know each other, fell in love, became companions, and walked down the aisle together. 2 years later, Jacob's child was born. Jacob also had a family of Jacob's own.